Hey moms, it's Laura Ollinger. Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. Hello, this is Laura Ollinger from the Positively Healthy Mom. So today I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Janell Sosa. It just so happens that she is part of the family medicine practice where my family goes. And so that is how we became familiar with one another. And I'm so excited. So welcome, Dr. Janell Sosa.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. I've never done anything like this, so it's exciting for me.
Okay, well, you're in a new environment today. Well, so the reason why I brought you on is because, my show deals with moms of all ages, specifically kind of birth through 18, but then we also support moms with college kids and young adults. And so I thought it'd be so helpful, especially it still being like the beginning of the year, early 2014, and people kind of recenter their energy on kind of goals for the year. And a lot of times that encompasses health. And so I wanted to bring you on just to talk about, first of all, what are the I know that's like a wide age range I gave you. So maybe we could kind of go chronologically. I know you have younger kids. So what are some of the health issues that you see with moms of babies and little ones?
Yeah, so moms, especially with like newborns and that little baby period, you're still dealing with kind of the postpartum issues. And so a lot of times we think of postpartum as being just that 6-week period, you follow up with your OB and okay, you're good. but it takes a lot longer than that to really kind of get back to your normal self. So on average, after you have your baby, of course, there's a lot of things that can feed into this, but usually about a year after is when people start to feel like, oh, okay, I'm kind of getting back to my normal self. And so that can be really frustrating when you're just as a mom, when you're like, okay, well, my baby's 6 weeks old. I should be fine now. Like I should be back to my pre-baby self, but it's just not how it's going to be. So I like to make that a point in my newborn visits and, those little baby well child checks, just to check up on the mother as well and kind of check in, see how they're doing and let them know that, don't be hard on yourself. It's going to take time to adjust. And, your body went through a huge thing and it's going to take a long time for all of your hormone levels and everything to kind of settle back down and all of that. And so a common thing that I hear from moms, not just moms of little babies, but even toddlers and young children is like, they're like, I feel like I'm going crazy. Like I can't focus. I start this task and that task. And so basically as moms, we have too many tabs open at a time. And so it's a lot of things that we talk about is trying to close some of those tabs that are maybe not as important at that given time so that you can focus on one thing at a time. And one of those important things being to focus on yourself, because as we all do, we focus on what our kids need or our spouse needs or our parents need or, everyone else. And then we come last. So that's a big one too, is to make sure that moms are taking care of themselves, taking some time for themselves to, even if it's just to do nothing, just to sit and just be you, not be mom, not be a wife, not be, all of these things that you are to everybody, just to some time and just be yourself. And so that helps. Yeah.
Well, let me jump in just for a quick second there. So I'm so happy to hear a medical doctor telling the moms that, because I bring in experts from all different areas, all different fields. And I happen to also be a health and wellness coach. I'm a nationally board certified health. So I have that background and I feel like I'm constantly telling people, the self-care, take time for yourself. But to hear like a medical doctor say that, it's like validating. I think that's what moms need to hear, because a lot of times they have a hard time stopping and really doing that. They're like, oh, I know I'm supposed to, but I just feel guilty, or I'm too busy, or I can't do it because I have this, this, and this, like all the excuses that they can possibly think of. And I know I was one of those. So, you and I aren't, super familiar with each other. So I have 4 kids, and I had them within the span of 4.5 years. Talk about crazy. Like, that was crazy. So it's like almost like I definitely, they were literally back to back. And I don't think I took a single break besides, like, I would get a haircut. Like, that was my big break. Or like I would, one time I was having shoulder problems from having to lift the double stroller in and out of the car. And so I had to end up getting an MRI because they thought there was a tear. They were looking to see what was wrong with it. And I remember telling the MRI tech, I'm like, this is the most relaxed I have felt in 2 years. I'm like, this is like, because they were like, oh, we're so sorry. It's so loud and it's so uncomfortable laying in the MRI machine. I'm like, this was amazing. I feel like I'm at the
Yeah. It reminds me of that movie Bad Moms when Kristen Bell's character is like, sometimes I fantasize that like I get into an accident, but not a bad one, like a little one where I have to like stay the night in the hospital and like everybody leaves me alone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's saying something. I think we moms kind of all understand that, because we all have been there where we just like desperately need, or even there was times where my kids were a little bit much older actually, because now they're like teenagers. I kind of wanted to get COVID. So I had an excuse. So like, sorry guys, I'm quarantining. Sorry. Right? Yeah. Like, it's like, but the thing is, why is it that we have to create this like medical excuse, right? Like, that's what it takes for us to take a break, and so that's pretty extreme to like fantasize about MRIs and hospital stays and
it's I think a lot of it is just societal pressures, but I think a lot of us were probably also raised with a mom who just go, never took any time for themselves. And I mean, my own mom is this way, and she kind of wore it as like a badge of honor. Like, I do everything, and I leave myself for last, and but it's not really a badge of honor if you're not taking care of yourself and doing all of this to the detriment of your own health, because of course your kids are going to want you to do everything for them and all of that, but you're doing them a disservice if you're not kind of modeling that you're taking care of yourself, because then they grow up with the same mentality that I need to go and put myself last and all of that. And so it's, for a lot of reasons, it's good for your kids to see you take a break and say, no, I need to do this for me. And so that they can kind of see that growing up.
Right. I'm so glad, because, and that's part of the work that I get into, is what are the beliefs and what is the mindset that you have around why you need to do this. And we kind of dig in deeply when I'm working with moms kind of one-on-one. And the number one thing they usually say is, oh, because I want to be a good mom. Like, that's what they think that means, is like running yourself ragged, because that's what being a good mom means. And, then they get the mom guilt if they seeing all the other moms doing more than them, like being the coaches or being the room moms or being the volunteer for this. And then it's like the comparison is exhausting. And the thing is, you can never win that game, right? I even tell like my teenage clients that, where there's always going to be someone prettier, smarter, funnier, richer, this more athletic, more this, more that. And so it's like, if you can stop that comparison at a younger stage and even model that for your kids as a mom, to be like, it doesn't matter what the other people are doing. Like, what's important is myself and how I feel about myself and how I feel about my family and how I feel about raising my kids. And if you could then redefine what it means to be a good mom in terms of sometimes putting yourself first, sometimes taking a break, that is the definition of a good mom. And other people just don't see that that's the definition. And so having you come on here and just like kind of, agree that is like really healthy for a mom to do is fantastic.
Yeah, it's the mom guilt. Oh, the mom guilt is real. But I mean, and I fall into these traps too myself when I'm like scrolling through social media and, you see these moms that are like, going above and beyond, like, well, I made like this Valentine box like with my child, and it's like got all these bells and whistles, and I'm just like, I don't ever do that. Or like, I made these like set of cookies for my kids' class, and they're like got all their little names on them, and like they're so intricate, and I'm just like, and then it kind of makes you feel like I don't ever do that. But everybody has their own, like I tell my kids, everybody's got their own strengths and weaknesses. And those moms who are excellent at, doing those crafty things, they're probably not so good at something that you're excellent at. So it's hard because you don't see those things that you can't take wonderful Instagram pictures of.
Exactly.
But,
Exactly.
yeah.
And so before we kind of move on to the older age stages that we talked about, I would love to know a little bit more personally about you, like how you got through, like when I read your bio, like you were going through medical schools, like your training and all that stuff, like while you were having kids, like how were you able to balance all that?
Dude, I don't know. It's one of those things where you do what you have to do kind of thing. But yeah, let's see. So going into my third year of residency, I basically got to a point where I was just tired of putting my life on hold for my medical education. And so my husband and I were just kind of like, you know what? We have a baby, and we're just going to do life and stop putting things on hold. And so I had my first baby right at the beginning of my third year of residency, which for family medicine is your last year. And luckily I was in a residency program that was super supportive and, just really, really wonderful about it. Because you hear these horror stories about programs that are like, don't get pregnant because like things are going to go terribly and all of that. But that was not the case for me. When I told my program director that I was pregnant, he high-fived me and he was like, yeah. so it was really nice. But it was hard because you can't take a ton of time off during residency unless you want to postpone your graduation, which I didn't want to do. And so I went back to work 5 weeks after having my baby. Luckily, my sister at the time, she was kind of between jobs and she was able to come and live with us and kind of be our nanny, which was the best thing ever. And so I didn't have to leave him with a stranger and all of that. So she was able to stay and take care of him while I was in residency. But it was hard figuring out like pumping during like these 12, sometimes 24-hour shifts, and like, how do I store it? And like, what do I do? And sometimes you just don't have time. And it's like, and of course, then you feel the guilt of, well, I've been away from my kid for 12, 24 hours and I'm a horrible mom. And anyway, so it was a lot of the same struggles that I see in my patients and just in a different setting. But it, while it was hard then, it helps me relate better now because I've been there, and my kid is just fine despite all of that. So that's the other thing that I try to tell them is, there may be things that aren't going exactly how you thought they would, but you're doing the best you can, and your kid, as long as they know that you love them and you're doing this all for them, they'll be fine. They'll be fine, and you'll be fine, and it'll be great.
I think that's like fantastic advice. And it's so awesome that you went through that time in your life. So now you can be even more empathetic towards your patients, and you're trying to, just say you're doing the best you can. And I think so many moms fall into the trap. It's similar to what we talked about before about the comparison, but they are so hard on themselves in like to a perfectionistic standard. And they think if it has to be all or nothing. And if it's not perfect, then it's not enough. And I love hearing a doctor say, oh, you're just doing the best you can, or all they need is to be loved. Like, it doesn't have to be this like this fairy tale, oh, here's me and my baby little moment, right? It's just like, just take care of them, love them, nurture them, get them, safe places to be in, and they're good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's a little more to it than that, but like that's the feeling, right? That's the feeling.
Yes.
Like,
so
these definitions can be shades of gray. It doesn't have to be
Oh, for
this,
sure.
this,
Yeah.
or this. And they're all good and they're all right. And there's really not a wrong, unless, then we cross the line where there's maybe a wrong, but that's not what we're doing.
If it gets to like an unsafe area, then that's a different story. But a lot of moms, myself included, get hung up on, the laundry's not all folded and put away, or, the dishes aren't all done, or, the playroom's a mess, or my kid's room's a mess. As like I tell moms who are in the thick of it, as long as they've got some clean clothes, that's good. It doesn't have to be put away in their drawers. As long as it can be clean and dry in the dryer, that's fine. They can still go get it. As long as there's some dishes that are clean and usable, it doesn't matter that the majority of them are dirty in the sink. It's fine. And, if everything's a mess, but you're able to walk through your house and nobody's stumbling on anything, it's okay. That can hang out for a while. Sometimes you just gotta, sometimes doing the bare minimum is all you can do. And that's fine. As long as everybody's got their basic needs met, then sometimes that's just where you're at, and that's okay.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So moving on into age ranges where, what about a mom who comes to see you who has elementary, middle, or high school? I know that's even a pretty broad age range, but what are the common kind of physical or even emotional, mental complaints that you see in moms who are just doing those busy lives, running their kids around to sports and kind of juggling, and then worrying about kids starting to leave the home? I know, again, that's a wide age range, but what do you see?
So yeah. So I would say elementary age, or moms with elementary age kids usually are kind of in that middle where they still have some of those issues of having young kids, but they're also kind of having some of those bigger kid things. So that's kind of a gray area. But the middle school, high school, it's a lot of like you said, running kids here and there to practice and friends' houses, and it's a lot busier, but just in a different way. The big struggle with that is that I have moms come to me with is that, they're always on the go and they're just eating a lot of fast food, or, just grabbing a snack here and there, and they don't really have time to exercise because they're always driving to a practice or a game or something. And it's you can't just not do those things. And so they come to me a lot of times just wanting to be healthier, but with the time constraints that they have, just not really knowing how to do that. And it is really hard. It is really hard. And so with the dietary thing, that's probably the most common one that I hear is moms are I want to eat healthier. I want my family to eat healthier, but when are we going to have time to do this? Because we're always somewhere and there's just no time to cook. And so we talk about those things, and then with exercise and kind of getting healthier that way. There's usually time, probably not as much time as they would like to dedicate to it, but even if it's 10 minutes of, just going and doing something active, it's better than doing nothing. And so I think a lot of people get stuck in this, well, if I don't have half an hour or an hour to devote to working out, then it's not going to be worth it, which is not true. So usually I encourage people to start with, if it's 5-10 minutes every couple of days, and that's where you need to start, then that's a good starting place. And starting somewhere is better than not starting at all. And then usually it's, once that becomes a habit, it's easier to build on that, and then finding other little snippets of time where you can work in other things, and then over time it becomes this healthy transformation.
Yeah, I like that. And it's so funny because that falls on the similar theme as before, where moms think they need an hour to work out. And it's that, again, that kind of black or white thinking, when really, if we go into shades of gray, we're like, okay, 10 minutes, 3 days a week, or 20 minutes, whatever the combination might end up being, start there. And then maybe you'll have time to work your way up when your kids get a little bit older, when they can start driving themselves places, or whatever that might look like. So I love that you're like, okay, some is better than nothing. And it's true. Like, so that's the age where I'm in right now, where I'm very busy with my kids and I'm working, and I find myself sitting a lot. And so I am like, when in the day am I going to do this? Because I also see clients at night, my teenage clients. So I finally started to do something that I don't love, but I'm making it work for me, where I'm working out in the middle of the day, which drives me a little crazy because I get myself all ready, my hair, my makeup, but then I go work out, but then I still have things to do after this. So I don't like re-shower. I don't redo. I just kind of make it work. Right. And so I think that's another like mindset that I'm having. Like, I don't have to be like perfectly put together later in the day. I have like probably 5 things I'm doing this afternoon, literally between the ages of like our time of 3 and 10 o'clock. I'm picking up a kid. I'm taking 2 kids to football. I'm taking my daughter to see the play at the high school. And I also have to make dinner before that. Right. Like, that's a lot. And so I know I have a workout scheduled today at 2:30 because I just need to get that in. And so it's like, maybe that's the advice that we can give moms today, is just to like find a time that maybe it's not your most convenient time, and maybe it's not the perfect workout, but at least it's something. And so you can still like roll with that.
I'm going to pause my conversation with Dr. Janell Sosa. If you'd like to hear more, listen to the next episode. Thank you for listening to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast. Because there's no manual for the hardest job in the world. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends.